So today's topic is control statements in Java programming. So why we need these control statements in Java programming? So control statements are nothing but which alters the flow of execution of a program. Alter means nothing but changing the flow of executing a program in Java. Not only in Java, the other programming also contains the control statements. So what happens with these control statements? So you can use these control statements to execute a specific part of the program. You can jump to a specific part of the program. You can execute those statements based on the conditions. So there are different types of control statements are available with us. Some of them are selection statements, selection control statements. Based on the selection, we are supposed to execute some of the statements. Next, we have iterative statements. Based on the condition, based on the criteria, you are supposed to execute group of statements again and again. That is called as iterative control statements. Next, we have jump statements. They are supposed to execute a particular part of the program based on the criteria. So these are the several control statements which are available in Java. So what is control statements? Let us see first of all what are control statements. Control statements are the statements which alters the flow of execution and provides the better control to the programmer on the flow of execution. It means that a programmer can be very much familiar with this control statement and very easy to use this control statement so that he can write programs very easily and control the flow of executing a program without any complexity. So next we are able to see that is Java control statements cause the flow of execution to advance and branch based on the changes to the state of the program. So this is what we are saying, that is according to the different types of criteria or conditions, the particular part of the program can be executed by branching them or dividing them. So according to Java, the control statements are divided into three groups. That is, first one selection statements, second one iteration statements, and the third one jump statements. Selection statements, which are nothing but which allows the program to choose the different parts of the execution based on the outcome of an expression. So what is this expression? Expression is nothing but a combination of operands, operators, and different types of variable into it. Operands may be variables. So expressions are nothing but combination of operators and operands. So based on that operations, the outcome will be outcome will be the result. It will be result. Based on the outcome, the parts of the program can be executed. Next, iteration statements enables the program execution to repeat one or more statements. It means that you are supposed to execute a part of the program continuously more than one time. That is called iteration statements. So jump statements enables your program to execute in a non-linear fashion. So what do you mean by this non-linear fashion? Let us say that you are at the first statement and there is one kind of a jump statement is used. After that, you cannot execute the next statement. You will be directly jumping to the particular part of the program and you are able to select part of the code and you can execute them. That is called as a non-linear fashion. Linear fashion is nothing but sequential execution of the program. One by one statement by the other statement, one by one execution of a program or statements are called as sequential statements. But according to the jump statements, we are not executing the statements sequentially or linearly. So statements which are executed in a non-linear fashions, they are called as jump statements. So what are selection statements? So according to Java, they grouped if else, if else if switch under selection statements. So let us see one by one. What are the 4 selection statements here? Let me stop this share and let me share one more screen, total screen. So what happens is, I think everyone able to see this. So first, under selection statements, you are able to see if or if else, if condition or if else statement, that is if or if else construct. So what is the syntax of it? I think almost everyone knows this syntax, but again I am repeating this one. If condition will be there, condition, based on this condition we will be executing statements, else there will be other statement, that is else the condition, based on the condition, if it is true, you will be executing this part of the code, that is statements belonging to the first group, and here statements belonging to the second group. So this is what happens with the if condition, only this part, if else condition is this whole part. So if the condition is true, we are selecting group of statements and executing them. If it is false, we are selecting other group of statements and we are displaying them or executing them. So this is about if else. Next we have the second one, that is the almost we have this one. Next we have a switch. I'm not going to if else if. Next one, switch. So what happens in the switch? Switch, it contains a syntax something like this. Switch off variable, maybe any kind of a variable, Boolean variable. Mostly we use Boolean variable here. Under this, we will be executing several cases. That is, it may be case 1. It may be regarding some statements. Next, under case 2 there will be other statements, case 3 there will be other statements, case 4 there are other statements to be executed. So based on this selection, that is based on this result of this variable, we will be selecting any one of the group of statements to be executed. So these about selection statements which are part of the Java. Most of the programming languages uses both of them. Almost all the programming language contains these control statements. Next, we will be seeing iteration statements. So Java iteration statements enables repeated execution of part of a program until a certain termination condition becomes true. So it means that you will be executing a part of the program until a termination condition becomes the true. So that was the iteration statements. So iteration statements are divided into several things like while, do while, and for loop. While, do while, and for loop. Let us see what happens with the while. What is the construct of it? I'm giving only the syntax here. In the next class, I will be giving group of programs, list of programs. So based on the while, first of all, it has a condition. And after that, there will be group of statements to be executed continuously. The condition is satisfied, you will be executing these statements continuously, repeatedly. How many times? It is based on the condition only. So next one, do while. What happens here? There will be syntax for it, that is do followed by statements. Next we have while condition here. So what is the difference between them? What is the difference between while and do while? So in while, we will be checking the condition first and executing the statements later. But in do while, we are executing the statements before we check the condition. So here we are using this condition to execute these statements as a starting. So at the starting stage, we are checking the condition. The condition is true, then we will be executing these statements. In do while, we are not checking the condition initially. We are directly executing the statement once. Then we are using this condition for terminating the execution of these statements. So it is an entry point of executing the statements under while, and it is a exit point of condition checking. That is, if these statements are executed, to come out of them, this condition is useful here. So this is about while and do while. Next comes an important one, for. Next comes our important thing, that is for loop. It has a syntax. Something like this. For, there will be expression 1 followed by expression 2 followed by expression 3. After that, there will be group of statements. So this is what happens with the for loop. For expression 1, expression 2, expression 3. So what are these expressions? So here in this for loop, expression 1 equals to, that is 1 is nothing but initialization of a variable. Next we have expression 2, which gives us condition. Next expression 3, gives us increment or decrement operation based on the variable. So for loop, here expression 1 will be initializing the variable based on which we have to forgo the statement's execution. Next expression 2 will be their condition. It will be checking the condition. Based on that condition, we will be executing group of statements. After that, last part is expression 3. Expression 3 is nothing but incrementing or decrementing the operation. It means nothing but going through the iterations, number of iterations, we will be using this increment or decrement operations. This is about for loop. So these are all about iteration statements which are part of the Java programming language. Next, we have a jump statement.
Sir,
Vamshi.
Sir, you forgot about for each loop.
Oh, it will come later, man. It will come later. Okay, I'm not discussing
Okay, sir.
at this stage because we are discussing that part, that is for each loop, as part of collection frameworks. When we see the collection frameworks, then we will see those things.
Okay, sir.
Okay, I'm not digging. This is a basically I'm discussing about the for loops. And when we go through the topics, then I discuss
Okay.
for each loop. Okay, don't worry. It is there. For each loop is also there.
Okay, okay, sir.
Okay. So next we have
Okay, sir.
statements. So jump statements are nothing but break, continue, and return statements, which makes the control flow to a different level. Break statements are majorly used inside the loop to come out of it. So most of the break statements are used in 3 ways. That is here, break statement. It is used in 3 ways. First way, used inside the loop to come out of it. Next, it is used for inside the switch used inside the switch to come out of switch blocks. After case 1, as I told you, there will be a case. After this, there will be a break statement. to come out of the switch block, we will be using the break statement, something like this. So break statement is used something like this in two ways. Okay, there is other way. Third way, used in nested blocks to go to end of the block. Okay, so break statement used in three ways. It may be inside the loop to come out of it. It may be inside the switch to come out of the switch blocks. It may be used in the nested blocks to go to the end of the block. Okay, because nested blocks are nothing but blocks within the blocks within the blocks. It is called as a nested blocks. So to come out of that and to reach the end of the block, then break statements are used here. So here, next one is continue statement. Next one is continue. Now what happens with the continue statement? So continue is used inside a loop. Continue is used inside a loop to repeat the next iteration of the loop. What happens here is it will ignore it. Let us say that whenever a continue statement is encountered in a program, let us say that there is one program STOP. Let us think that these are statements. Let us assume that these are the statements. So what happens here is when I put continue over here, now what happens here is it will go back to the starting location and it will execute this one once again. It will ignore this one. It will not go to the next step. It will continuously executing the previous next iteration of the loop. Okay, this is about continue. Next we have the last one under jump, that is return statement. As we know why it is used. Return statements are used for returning values from the methods or functions which are part of the C++. But according to Java, we will be returning values from the methods to the other methods or to the other programs also. Along with this, jump statements, control statements, iteration statements, and selection statements, Java also has one more important topic called as exception handling. Exception handling is one more important topic which makes the flow of execution to be different, because based on the exceptions, the altering of control flow will be done. So these are all about the control statements which are part of the Java program. As I said, I'm briefing it once again. Control statements are the statements which alters the flow of execution and provides a better control to the programmer on the flow of executing a program. Next, they are divided into three groups. They are selection, iteration, and jump statements. And under selection statements, there are four selection statements are there. First one is if, second one if else, after that if else if, and after that switch. So these are the four things which comes under selection statements. Next, second control statement is iteration type of statements, under which they categorized while, do while, for loop. Okay, these are the iteration statements. Next, the third category is jump statements. So under this jump statements, there are three categories are there. Three varieties are there: break, continue, and return. So break is used in different manner. Break is used in three ways. That is, it is used in the loop, inside the loop to come out of it, and also it is used in switch statement to come out of the switch blocks, and also it is used in nested blocks to go to the end of the blocks. Next we have continue. Continue is used inside a loop to repeat the next iteration of the loop. It means that a particular point you will be going back to execute the repeated statement of executions, then continue will be used. Then return. Return is nothing but return 0 or return x plus y. So we are returning so many things here. You can return anything. It means that if it is integer add is a function, so based on the values, so it means that add function should return a value. So it is integer type, so it may return 0 or it may return x plus y, because the value of these two variables may be in the form of integers. So this is what happens with the return statements. To return something from the method to the main method, then we will be using return statements. Now these are all about different control statements. Next we have a type conversion. Type conversion contains two things: widening and narrowing. Try to note this point, that is, widening and narrowing are two things which are possible in type conversion. Now what is widening? Widening is nothing but the smaller data type to the larger data type. If we are converting a data type from a smaller data type to a larger data type, that is a smaller to higher, then it is called as a widening type conversion. Now next one important, that is narrowing. Narrowing is nothing but we are converting a large data type to a smaller data type. It is nothing but narrowing. So how we can do these conversions? As we know, type conversions are of two types, that is widening and narrowing. So they can be done in two ways, that is implicitly and explicitly. Implicitly are nothing but implicitly are nothing but the compiler automatically converting its type from smaller to higher or higher to lower. So widening or narrowing can be done automatically when the implicit type of conversion is seen in the program. So the second variety is explicit type conversion. It is nothing but the responsibility of the programmer to do the widening and narrowing conversions. So why we require these type of things? See, at the runtime of the program, you can be dealing with so much of data. At running of the program, you can deal with so much of data which can be converted into different types also. There may be a requirement that you can be changing the types of the variables also. So at that time, because the data type may be a smaller one which we need. But here what happens here is, if you want to convert one smaller data type into a larger data type, then widening will be used. If it is larger to smaller, narrowing is used. So the names of the widening and narrowing will be noted. It may be an interview point of question also. What is widening and narrowing? So narrowing and widening can be done in two ways. They are implicit type conversions and explicit type conversions. Explicit type involves the programmer. Programmer is responsible for using this type of widening and narrowing. And implicit type, the compiler is responsible for widening and narrowing. Next, we have widening type conversions. These are all implicit conversions by the compiler automatically. So what type of a data will be converted into which type of a data, which is possible under widening in the implicit type of conversion. So byte will be converted to short, int, long, float, double, because 8 byte is a 8 bits. It can be converted to how many bits? 2 bytes of data, 4 bytes of data, 8 bytes of data, 4 bytes of data, 4 bytes of data. So we are converting the smaller to bigger, that is a larger data type. So here this is what happens with the things. Short can be converted to these are integer types. Byte, short, these two are integer, long. These are all converted into different types here. Short is converted into integers, long, float, double. Character can be converted into integer, long, float, double. So there may be a requirement that a character can be changed into a integer, long, float, double. We will see practically. Don't worry about this thing. We will see practically about it. And int can be converted into long, float, double. So this is a type conversion. We can convert them. This process of converting the small data types into a bigger data types are called as widening, and they are automatically done here. That is implicit conversion. Next, narrowing type. Narrowing are nothing but programmer as responsible. Narrowing is nothing but should be described at expression explicitly. So byte will be converted into character. So bigger will be converted into smaller. Short will be converted to byte char. Char will be converted into byte short. Int can be converted to byte short char. Long byte short char int. Float byte short char int long. Double byte short link. So you can see this. You can see the construct. It is called as a narrowing. So larger data types are converted into different smaller data types. Next, this is same as we had discussed in the previous slide. It is same. Typecasting. So in the last class, we also discussed cast operator. Cast operator is nothing but the brackets which we used before the variables. Okay, see here integer I is the example. For example, we have a variable integer I that is converted into a byte. So byte is having more space, or by integer having a more space? I want the answer from you. That is, integer will occupy more space than byte or not? Now what is this called as? We are converting the type here, because integer contains 2 bytes of data, but byte contains only 1 byte of data. So what is happening? Larger to smaller. What it is called as? Anyone can answer or write in the chat box.
Narrowing.
Okay, narrowing. Very good. Now, second example, it is floating point value can be translated to integers. What is happening here? Here narrowing is going on or widening is going on? In the second example. The second example, what is happening? Widening or narrowing?
It is also narrowing, sir.
But you try to understand here, in Java, integer is of 4 bytes of size, not 2 bytes of size.
Okay.
Float is also 4 bytes of size. It is not 8 bytes of size. 4 bytes of float and integer are of same. same amount of memory is allocated for both data types. You try to understand. That is, we are converting here. Here concept is converting, casting of data types. Here only we gave an example of narrowing, but here both of them have the same capacity, 4 and 4. Which one is the higher? You try to understand. Float is a bigger one according to the rules which have been made by the Java. Okay, this is all about our control statements and typecasting and conversions. In the next class, we are going to see